Hey TechKnowStuds, there's a lot of people out there that feel like they do cybersecurity well. There's also a lot of companies that don't think that they're vulnerable. Yet people are being hacked on a daily basis and companies are being hacked. So there's a disconnect there. And one of the problems is that companies don't have a security program. So what is a security program? Well, in this video, let's explore what a security program is and why you need a cybersecurity program at a company. In this video, we're going to talk about why there's a need for a cybersecurity program. We'll talk about functions of a cybersecurity program, and then we'll wrap things up by talking about what an ideal cybersecurity program would look like. A company is made up of people, and those people have a limit to their knowledge and how much time that they have. And so let's take a look at a few fictitious people at a fictitious company to see what it looks like from a cybersecurity perspective. This is Fiona, and she works in accounting, and she thinks that she understands cybersecurity and how to be secure, but it's mainly because she's never been hacked before. And this is really dangerous because she doesn't think that that's going to happen to her, but she's in an important role. If somebody uses social engineering against her, she could be compromised, and same thing with the finances of the company. And then employees are not getting paid. This is Rick, and Rick really has a deep understanding of security, but only from the perspective of a programmer. When he's into the systems, he's making sure his code has a certain level of security involved, but he has no idea about the big picture around security of the company. This is Shelly, and Shelly works in IT. And she's a lower level position in IT, and so she doesn't really fully understand security, just from her perspective as well. She understands IT security, but not security from the company. Not only that, but she's really busy doing IT work and doesn't really have time to look at the cybersecurity program as a whole for the company. This is Hui. And Hui really understands cybersecurity, and he knows what he's supposed to be doing, but he doesn't think that it really applies to him. That the policies and what is put out there is not something that's really all that important, because he doesn't have access to sensitive information, or so he thinks. But if you actually look at the information he has access to, it's customer records. And so if those were to get exposed to the outside, that would be problematic for a couple reasons. Number one is that then maybe you have to notify those customers, and that could be a damage to your company reputation. Not only that, but if a competitor gets a hold of that information, then that could be a loss of competitive advantage to the company. And then we have some systems and processes that are really old, that people have just been doing, and technology that's just been serving the company over a period of time, and a lot has changed over 15 years. And so since that doesn't fall under anybody's umbrella, largely those security concerns around these systems and processes go unchecked. So as you can see, if we don't have a cybersecurity program, we really can't enforce cybersecurity principles across the whole company and across all of the people of that company. So let me put it a little differently as well. Let's say all of our resources are within our network, are locked up and really secure. And people have to go through to input their credentials to get access to it. But it just takes one person to have bad credential hygiene, bad ways of them tracking their passwords, or really poor passwords, or whatever the case may be, to open up a vulnerability that exposes everything behind these walls. Well, that's what it's like with your employees, with the people of a company, is that one person practicing bad cybersecurity principles can open up the whole company for devastation. So what is a cybersecurity program, and what functions do a cybersecurity programs have? Well, first of all, it's going to take a look at the risks. It's going to assess risks to the company so that way it can mitigate those risks. And then it's also going to take a look at regulatory compliance. So what is government regulations? What are the customers demanding? What are the things that are demanding of the company that they fall in line with? Then what's going to happen is they're going to create policies, procedures, and controls, guidelines. They're going to create things that are going to help mitigate against this risk and enforce these regulatory compliance. Then from there, they're going to have to train their employees on how to follow these policies, procedures, and functions, and make sure that everybody is following that. And so as part of that, to make sure that they're following it, they're going to work on compliance, making sure people are following it, and accountability. There's going to be some sort of repercussions if people are not following that. One thing that a cybersecurity program is not is a project. It is a program. So what is the difference between a project and a program? Well, a project is time-bound. That means it's got a start and it's got a finish to it. And so there's a definitive time when the project is done and you have some sort of final product at that point in time, some sort of deliverable. A program is not that. A program is instead ongoing, where there's consistently checks and balances and you continue to develop it. I will tell you that when I'm setting up a security program, I launch it as a project to get it up and running, but then there's a maintenance part of it because it's a program that continually operates after that. What happens in a lot of companies is a cybersecurity program falls under IT. And this is not the ideal situation. It falls under IT because it's got the word cyber in it, and a lot of cybersecurity has to deal with the technology and things that IT would implement. But the real ideal is to have a whole separate department that's in charge of cybersecurity. The problem with IT being in charge of cybersecurity is that it's not a separation of duties, which means that IT is both carrying out the functions of IT and also trying to implement security policy on IT. And that doesn't work very well from an accountability standpoint. And so really ideally, it would be a separate department with its own budget, with its own people. And so that's an ideal cybersecurity program. Of course, that can't always happen because of resource funding and because of the size of the company. So smaller companies, that tends to be the setup, but ideally you'd be working towards a separate department for cybersecurity program. So as you can see, if you don't have a good cybersecurity program, then you probably don't have good cybersecurity, and you're opening up the company or the organization for some risk in the future. And so the functions of a cybersecurity program is really to look at the overall picture and start implementing policies and procedures and ways to mitigate against that risk. And so ideally, that's carried out by a separate department. That's a lot of companies will carry it out through their IT department, but ideally it would be a separate department.